So I made the decision. Now I'm not thinking as an educator. Now I wasn't thinking as a leader. I was thinking as a mother.
Mm,
What if my child was sitting in that class
right.
with his first opportunity at a high school credit and he didn't have a teacher? And so now he's not well equipped for this EOC that
Mm.
will confirm that he satisfies state requirements.
Welcome to season 2, episode 6 of your favorite teacher's favorite teacher podcast.
All right, so I am Adrienne Furlow. I was in education in the Aldine Independent School District the entire time for 7 years. I started with eighth grade. I taught eighth grade math. Yay, my favorite subject. Um, I taught eighth grade. I had also I had the GT kids, so I taught algebra as well. And I was actually in the classroom for 3 years, after which I was kind of pushed to apply for the leadership role to be the math instructional specialist, to where I can touch all the students across middle school versus just my eighth grade babies. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that was pretty much my stint in
Awesome.
education.
That is great. You got to be in the classroom for a period of time. Then you got to see what the leadership role of it was, which is going to make for a great podcast because it, it is like night and day from being in the classroom to working with actual adults. And so like that's like a fantastic journey that you went on, which leads us into the first part of the podcast. The part
Okay.
that I like to call the journey. And in the journey, what I like to have my guests do is talk to the audience about your journey from when you decided to become an educator to the point that, and for you, all the way up to the point to where you are now, because I know that you're no longer in education, which is a very important part of why I wanted you on a podcast today, because we have so many teachers leaving the profession. And I want you to talk about like your experience. So, from the moment you decided to become an educator to where you are presently, just talk about that journey for the audience,
Okay, so oddly enough, funny enough, I never wanted to be an educator. I've said this since I was in high school, um, going to school for engineering in high school,
please.
and my senior project was to teach the 11th graders calculus or pre-calculus. I forget which one it was at the time.
Wow.
And so I'm like, okay, cool, this is easy for me. And so my engineering teacher at the time was like, you're going to come back to teach? No, never. Definitely not here at this school. I don't want to teach anybody. I don't want to teach anybody's kids. But haha, jokes on me. It happened to where I decided to transition into education. And it was because after being laid off from the oil and gas industry, I became a licensed realtor, and I was doing that from 2016 to 2017. But some a major life change happened to where I needed, okay, I can't trust this. I'm used to corporate. I'm used to monthly. I'm used to bi-monthly checks. I'm used to consistency. So do I stay a realtor full time, or do I go back to consistency for my kids? Going back into corporate and engineering was not an option because I needed to be there emotionally for my kids, because I didn't know how my divorce with their father was going to affect them. And
Right.
so I didn't want to be back where I knew I didn't want to be. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, let me be on their schedule. So it just made sense. I had a friend was like, we need a math teacher. It's easy. You can take the test. Da, 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 da. I'm like, okay, let's do it. So I took the content exam. Actually, my motivation to take the content exam was they interviewed me before all of that.
Oh, wow.
So I'm like, well, I haven't, and I was kind of deflated at the time. Like, I'll just wait till the next school year. This is too close to time. We're talking about in July.
Mm-hmm.
School starts in August. I hadn't
Yes.
taken the test. So I went in for the interview, and I was like, okay, all right, let me go ahead and study a little bit. But I told my friend, hey, if I don't pass this first time, that's it for me. I'm not doing it again. So I passed the content exam on the first try. I went in, and after I survived the first semester, I was like, okay, I got this. I can do this. Because what it was for me is that I love math. It
Right.
is my absolute favorite subject.
Mm-hmm.
And to see the fear in some kids with math, I'm like, oh no, no, no. This can't be. So I was all in. what you need, how you need, differentiation, all of that stuff that they talked about with those big words that I didn't
Yeah.
understand for education, those acronyms. That's pretty much what I was doing because it was
Awesome.
doing it was what I was doing at home with my two kids. So it just transferred over. So the decision to get into education was to be more available to my kids and to be
Hmm.
on their schedule. And no other career choice made sense but to be in education. So I can be out when they're out, in when they're in, and things like that. So that's how I decided to get into education. Um, my exit from education was just because it got to be a lot.
Yes.
In the classroom is very different, like you said, than being outside of the classroom in a leadership role.
Hmm.
And for me, whatever I'm doing to the best of my ability. I'm passionate about it. Especially, I used to tell my teachers all the time, I'm not that far removed from the classroom.
Right.
So I know what it feels like not to have the support. And so now that I am a support for you, but I still see the lack of the other support, like I feel you, and I would try to fill those gaps as best I can. So
Right.
my days would look crazy busy.
Yes.
Not to mention my last year, I lost not one, but two teachers
Oh no. In the middle of
in
the
eighth
school
grade
year?
math, where the scores really matter for eighth grade math.
Right. Right.
And so when we came back from Christmas break last school year, I knew one was not coming back. It's like,
Okay.
okay, figure out a plan. They were on a block schedule, meaning 90 minutes. So I went in the second 45 of each one.
Oh
Mind
wow.
you, I still have three planning sessions.
Right.
I still have to eat. I still have to go do walkthroughs and coaching the other teachers,
Right.
and I'm in here the second half. Kind of settled into that. It was cool. Come back from the freeze, another teacher gone.
Oh.
And so now I'm faced with, okay, I can't be in two different classrooms
Hmm.
at the same time, along with my planning sessions, because I can't let all of sixth and seventh grade lack
Right.
because two eighth grade teachers are out. So I cannot skip plannings, especially I had a fairly new sixth grade team. Two-thirds of my teachers were new. And so they needed the support, like understanding the content. Like I'm very because if I get them and support them how they need, that trickles down to the classroom because I can't teach and be in every classroom.
Hmm.
So that absence hit a little harder because that absence, that void also left a void with the algebra students.
Oh Lord.
No
Oh
one else on
Lord.
campus could teach the algebra students. I couldn't put one of my other math teachers in there. So I'm the only other one that knows the content, that has taught it. And even if I hadn't taught it with an engineering background, I read math books. I taught myself differential equations in college. So surely
Wow.
if I hadn't taught algebra, I can definitely read their textbook and get them looking at the Texas essential knowledge and skills to what they needed.
Right.
So I made the decision. Now I'm not thinking as an educator. Now I wasn't thinking as a leader. I was thinking as a mother.
Mm.
What if my child was sitting in that class
Right.
with his first opportunity at a high school credit and he didn't have a teacher? And so now he's not well equipped for this EOC
Hmm.
that will confirm that he satisfied state requirements. So now when he goes to the ninth grade, he's done with algebra. So that was my mindset. So what I did is I went in the classroom. Thank God it was only one block. Thank God it was only one. But it literally, so now this is what my schedule looked like. First period, planning with sixth grade.
Okay.
Second period was my planning now for
Right.
algebra.
Right.
Now I have to go work through the list. I'm doing everything that my teachers are doing, right?
Hmm.
Now I'm doing it to the same degree and level in which they are, because now I have to deliver this lesson, right?
Hmm.
So second period was my planning session. Writing out my questions, how I'm going to facilitate, all of this, group calls, do this, do that, literally everything. Now I'm a teacher and a math instructional specialist, right?
Hmm.
So second period, that's what that was. Third and fourth period was my time in the class with them.
Right.
Fifth period, A grade planning. Well, it was only one other teacher now, right?
Hmm.
So happy he was on top of his stuff. Hey, what you need? Got questions about this assignment? Like and he understood, And so that's what fifth period looked like. Sixth period, I think, and so in that, I lost not being able to go into the other classroom, right? Because
Right,
now I'm in the classroom.
right,
So that class dropped off from some of my support. What was it? Sixth period, seventh period was a advisory period. So I'm back in there with the algebra kids because ever since I had algebra and they had advisory, I'm like, hey, can I have the algebra kids? Because there's more time with them.
right, right.
Kept that structure. So I'm back in there with them. Hey, let's finish this lesson. Let's get some practice in. Hey, y'all get to the board. Like it was real, like, I had to get them adjusted to me. It was like, yeah, but they loved it in the end, whatever. So seventh period, I'm back in there with them. Eighth period, I'm back in planning
Mm, mm,
with seventh grade.
mm-hmm.
Ninth period, I'm done for today. But I can't. Why? I have to go into this classroom. Can I make it to see some teachers? Can I try to coach somebody? Can I so literally I was nonstop. And mind you, I'm doing grades for both two absentee teachers. I'm providing materials,
Mm,
printouts, like I'm everything. So for me to try to fill in gaps of supports for my teachers ever since I've been in that role,
mm-hmm.
now to be straddling the fence in both roles and not feel the support, that did it for me.
Wow,
It's
wow.
kind of like, okay, yes, she got it, she doing it. Yeah, I do have it, I am doing it. But what is my why? My why are these kids.
Exactly.
So if I express anything, why aren't you? Because I'm going above and beyond. I'm still only
Yes,
getting paid for one job. I'm
right.
going above and beyond. You know what I'm saying? So if I'm needing you to do your bid with discipline or whatever the case may be,
Mm-hmm.
why? Why am I still being called? Why is my cell phone, why is my radio being hit for discipline with math?
Wow.
There's no
Th-
such thing as a math AP. There's no such thing as a math principal, so I had too many hats and it just deflated and exhausted me. So with the support of my now partner was like, yeah, I you can walk away. You can
that's
walk
awesome.
away and you can focus on what you really love to do and wanted to do and rebuild your real estate career. And that's where I am today,
That is.
rebuilding my real estate career that I started back in 2016,
Mm-hmm.
but chose my kids. And
Mm-hmm.
then I kept choosing all my kids at that school year after year. Then
Mm-hmm.
I chose my teachers and all of the kids for 4 years until it wiped me out.
Well, I mean, you brought up a pretty, I say, crazy point that they're hitting you on the walkie-talkie about handling behaviors, and I, w- uh, we call it instructional coaches over in my district, but like the key word in there is instruction. Like you shouldn't have to deal with behavior. Your
Mhm,
focus is making sure that teachers are
mhm,
instructionally sound in delivering that lesson. So for
mhm,
you to have to deal with that on top of, and for those people in the audience who are um, parents that are not in education, you have to understand there is a lot of work that goes into planning a lesson, delivering a
mhm,
lesson,
mhm,
grading the lesson. On top of that, her other role as an instructional specialist, she has to ensure that the teachers are doing uh, proper pedagogy. Pedagogy is the science of teaching, on top of making sure that the content knowledge is there. So when I say content knowledge, basically knowing the math and being able to transfer the knowledge of math
mhm,
to the students in a way that they'll get it. She spoke briefly about differentiation, which takes even more. Is like taking a lesson and multiplying it by 3 and 4 different ways of delivering it, so the different types of modalities are learned by the students. The different ways that students learn are being reached. So, oh my lord, you had to do a lot. You went through a lot during your time. in education. And I get it. I can understand that being so much that it pushes you away from education. And in that, I'm sure that you had like some great days, some bad days, and that's gonna lead us into the next portion of the podcast, the part that I like to call the yin and the yang. And in this, what I like you to do is just talk to the audience about your best day and your worst day as an educator. Well, I like to flip it because I want you to start off with a bad day and end on a positive note. So talk to the audience about like your worst day in education, and then we'll round it off with something positive about your best day. So I'll turn the mic over to you to give the audience that.
Okay. So the worst day, um, of course, was with this last school year, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And it had gotten to the point to where I'd be okay. You'll say my prayers on the way, drop my kids off.
Mm.
And when I would get to the light by the school,
Oh,
just like that's what it had become, you know.
wow.
And I knew this feeling all too well because that was the feeling I got when I was ready to exit corporate. I really wanted to volunteer to be laid off.
Oh, wow.
I'm not kidding you. Like I was over it. Literally I had cleaned out my office and you had to go in my office, look at the phone to see whose office there was. I was done. I was
Mm.
already working on my realtor license and everything. So I knew that feeling. So I knew I was getting towards the end.
Mm-hmm.
But the worst day was I pulled in the parking lot and I sit there and I literally cried before even going in the building. I used to get there
Mm.
early because my boys were on a high school schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And so who's coming back home to turn right back around? Not me. So I'm always at work like at least an hour early, an hour before, contract time. So I'm like the prayer didn't hit, the gospel music didn't
Oh,
hit. Like it's
wow.
like nothing was hitting, because it was pressing on me these kids.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And this was after the second teacher, was out. And so I went into the office and it was just, what can you do? What can you do? What can you do? And that's when mommy mode kicked in. And I didn't even come out to do duty that morning. As a leader, you're over a duty section. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
come out. I was like, well, I know she hear her car. I saw her, da da da. And so my principal comes in, like, you okay? I'm like, no, I'm not okay.
Wow.
Because I'm the type that can deal with a lot, push through,
Mm-hmm.
smile on my face, like all of that. Unless you really know me, you can tell that I'm not okay. And I was like, no, I'm not. And I'm just sitting here, just like, I have to do something. So and I said, I don't care where I'm not able to be. I don't care if I go duck away and take a break from me
Mm-hmm.
because I'm exhausted. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and teach those kids algebra.
Mm-hmm.
They've already, at this point, this is in February. So at this point, they've already had about a good solid 4 weeks without a teacher.
Wow.
Now, I was sending them stuff that their teacher had. She was like, hey, print this out, notes. But we're in a different, we're talking about quadratic equations. We're
Yes.
getting into the good stuff.
Yes.
So yeah, you could take the notes, but how do I do this? How do I apply this? I have a word problem. If I look at these graphs, if I look at this equation, if I just look at data, how am I supposed to know? Like, we're supposed to transfer that knowledge to equip them, but when you look at a question, you know what's given, how to analyze it, and how to go forth and do your work.
Mm.
So that wasn't going to do it. So I'm like, I have to do something. And it was just like, it was tugging at me because like somebody was going to lose and miss out.
Yes.
Somebody was going to lose and miss out from the support that I'm supposed to be here to give to all the teachers that extends to all the kids.
Right.
But I had to choose because nobody could support these advocates, nobody on that campus but me.
Wow.
The effort to have another algebra teacher Zoom in, nothing worked.
Mm.
Nothing worked. We tried. So it wasn't just let them sit there. We wasn't trying. Trust me, we were trying to figure something out.
Right.
And I'm like, you know what? These are my babies. They're on my campus. Then I'm gonna go in here and do it. So that was the worst day to have to choose a subgroup, and
Mm-hmm.
I do mean a small subgroup over
All of it.
all of them.
Wow.
So that was the worst day. Like, you ain't never seen a thug cry. They saw a thug cry a couple of times that day. Like it's some real thug tears because I'm usually like, hey, I gotta get this done. I cry about this at the house, so
Right.
I'll go sit at the bar, give me a reader. It's gonna
Yeah,
be
yeah.
okay. But I couldn't. I just couldn't. And it was the start of the day, and I couldn't hold it together because I really made that decision that I gotta go in here for these kids.
Well,
So that's what I would stamp as the worst day.
to me, in working with you, to hear you say that, like to me, you were a very strong-willed, strong mind young lady, and like to say that stuff gets to you, it's like I've always felt that you're the type of person like it's water off your back, like nothing can actually get to you. But to actually hear that it broke you down to the point of tears, I mean
Mhm,
that means that there had to been a lot of pressure that
mhm,
went into what you were going through, because and it's I'm pretty sure there's going to be people out there like, well, it wasn't your responsibility. You didn't have to do it. But the thing is that we care about these kids in a way that and I believe you said it earlier. The mommy kicked in. We care
mhm,
about them like they're our own kids. We
mhm,
will go to the ends of the earth for these young men and women to ensure that they are successful. I know one of the things that I really believe is that education is the way to bring kids, especially kids like me that came from poverty, up out of poverty and into being able to do something with yourself. Because that is one thing uh, that is not um, predetermined for you. You can learn as much as you want, become as educated as you want, and use that education to help you go far in life. So uh, when we have that opportunity to be a part of these young men and women's lives and affect them that way, wow, it's we do it. We do it. And I am sorry that you had to go through that, knowing the type of person that you are, the kind of heart thug that you are. Yeah, that had to be painful. I'm sorry that you
yeah.
went through that. But why don't you lighten up the mood and tell us about one of your best days?
So my best day was actually during my first year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the first year was hilarious, like because it was my friend that brought me there. And I'm like, I in her classroom was right across from mine.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I was like, is it me? Is it them? Like, they don't hear me. I'm speaking English. Why are they not getting this? What the like it was some days like that. And I didn't care because my goal and my motive was to help the students and transfer the knowledge.
Right.
So when I'm like, I don't know another way to say this, I'm like, y'all hold on, Lil. How did you tell this kid? What did you tell Lil? But she just laughed. I'm like, I'm serious because that's when you learn that you know it,
Mm-hmm.
but teaching it is a different thing. You know
Yes.
what I'm saying? It's like you just teaching your little heart out. Yeah, he who's talking the most is the one who learns and knows. And they wasn't talking. So I'm like, this ain't it. So yeah, it was eventful, but it leads into me really adjusting and learning and paying attention and seeing what they needed. And so so going to the algebra class, it was a big class. It was like 20 something kids, but
Mm-hmm.
with this, how they had it then, if you didn't maintain a B average the first 9 weeks, you had to exit out.
Right.
And the reason being is because the first 9 weeks was all linear.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just an extension of everything that you got from eighth grade.
Mm-hmm.
So if you didn't really have that foundation and you struggle with linear, quadratic, exponential, it was not about to be your friend,
Right.
right? And so I had a few of them like, hey, You right on the cusp. I'm gonna help you. Don't make me regret helping you with this 80. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Like I see you try whatever. So now it's like I had some big shoes to fill because the algebra teacher prior to me, God rest his soul, that's how I ended up getting in.
Yeah.
He passed suddenly, it was unexpected. And so they was like, they didn't bother him. He knew his stuff. He was old school. They got him like, oh God. So this data, this it gotta be right.
Hmm.
Well, I had 100% of my algebra students pass and
Awesome.
satisfy the Algebra 1 EOC, I was so relieved. I was like, oh, so my crazy did work. They got it, it's good. So that was one of the best days to receive an email because other people see the data before we do.
Yes. Yeah.
So to receive that email that girl, you did it. Oh, yeah, I'm like, oh, like let me see, like let me log in. Oh, I can't see it yet. It's not privy to me yet. But that transfers into the same feeling on helping those algebra kids last year.
Hmm.
All of them passed.
Awesome.
And like
Awesome.
half of them had failed the first semester.
Mm.
So I didn't have time to really gauge what I just had to pay attention to what transferred into the next skill or not
Hmm.
and help them that way. So I didn't have time to do like I would normally do in a classroom. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have time to end the school year, end the first semester with let's getting you what you need because I was able to be more individualized because it was a smaller setting. I didn't have that time. Here I am in the middle of February. You got started in a couple months.
Mm.
We got new material and we have to cover from the beginning of the school year. I don't know how you got it, how it was delivered. So I just had to go on what I knew and hit on those strong things. So that was like part two of that. It took me back to my first year because
Mm.
with that short amount of time, they had to get acclimated to me. And
Hmm.
trust me, it was times 10 that you remember
Yeah.
because we don't have time. We
Right.
don't have time, but they adjusted to it. And I celebrated them with a pizza party and everything. But all of them passed star as well.
That's amazing. That is.
So it's connected to my service and purpose of an educator is to help the students be successful.
Wow. Yeah. And just listening to that, um, I know it required a lot of work on your end to make all of that happen. Um, During that time, though, can you tell me about, because you were serving in two roles. You were in the classroom, you were also an instructional specialist helping out those teachers. Like, what did that look? So before we go into that, the for the educators and the parents out there that are listening, as an instructional specialist, one thing that I want to point out before I have her talk about this is that there is learning that has to take place as an instructional specialist as well. Um, what I mean by learning is we have to look at what the teachers are doing, look at the different strategies that they're using, and we have to do research and find out other ways to reach the students to help the teachers reach those students. Um, so on our end, not only do we have to do that research and find out, but there's also learning how to coach teachers into using these strategies. Because a lot of times, like I don't know about you, but in the role, adults are gonna adult. So when I come in and I'm telling them about, here's a strategy you might want to use, a lot of times they're like, oh, no, I got it. I'm good. This, that, and the other, not realizing that you're hurting the students in the long run. So talk to us about like having to balance between going in, creating those lessons for your classes, going in, finding those different strategies to help teachers, going in and actually observing. Like, what was that like having to find that happy balance to help both the teachers and the students?
Well, it was never a balance. It was just, hey, we gotta get this done. So, um, Whereas I couldn't be as present in all of the classrooms to
Mm-hmm.
actually see the lesson delivery, see what kind of challenges that they could be having to coach them around those things.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the times, in our planning sessions, okay, how did the lesson go? What are you seeing? And then my grade level teachers will spar. Well, how did you deliver? What did you say? Whatever the case may be. And
Awesome.
if it was consistently a pressing issue, then I'll just pop in to like kind of observe and be like, hey, but see, I didn't have that issue. Like my team, how I am personally is how I am professionally. What you see is what you get. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to be transparent with you.
Right.
But I'm going to respect you in all of it because you know what my goal is, right?
Right.
It is really to support you, and they felt supported. So
Awesome.
good thing this wasn't the first year. This was the fourth year, and I had a few, new teachers, but it's like, hey, if I, kind of give you a look, or if I just start talking, I'm just trying to step in and co-teach because I really don't have the time
Right.
to take notes, meet with you after, talk about it. You go back in, then I come in. Sometimes I just have to do some coaching on the spot. I had
Wow.
to do some real-time coaching,
Okay.
and it never undermined them. I'd be like, hey, y'all, can I kind of assist? Can I ask y'all a question? Can I, and sometimes I'll just walk around, do it with them. And one of my teachers, I told her, I said, it's not these kids, it's you.
Mm.
I said, it's you.
How did the teacher receive that? Don't tell me that was one of the ones that
Okay,
fell
I'm a,
apart.
you're right, you're right. But I didn't just say, I said why it was and what I had observed. I said,
Right.
because if you had done what I done, you would have saw this and you would have pulled back and stopped. So
Mm-hmm.
are you walking around really looking actively, or are you walking around so that you're walking around? Because I walk around and look actively and I got frustrated. I'm like, this ain't it. Let's bring them back
Mm-hmm.
out of the whole group. So when I brought them back together, whole group, asked them questions, had them
Mm-hmm.
redo this and release them,
Yes.
I went back. I said, "It's not these kids, it's you." And I walked past, and I said, this, and this." Okay, okay, you're right. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna do it.
See, and
And
that
she
that makes
did.
your job
And
so
I
much
hadn't
easier.
had time to go back in,
Uh-huh.
but she had another walkthrough by an admin. They was like, oh, we saw so and so. It was this. And I'm like, oh, thank God it happened. Because I just didn't have the
The
time
time.
to, you know what I'm saying? And so
Yes.
it was just like I was received because they knew my intent. And I never had a takeover spirit because you're the teacher. I'm not. And I'm never going to undermine you or make you look less than in front of your students. Because if that happens,
Mm-hmm.
you gonna lose them. And I
Exactly.
can't come in there every day, every time. And so that's just kind of what it looked like. Or I'm like, hey, if you having something, it's emergent, you stuck or whatever, because I had some new teachers, text
Mm-hmm.
me. I'm like, if my phone not on me, my watches, I'm not too far and I'm coming, you
Right.
know. So
Right.
there I was sometime I would hear my office phone ring. I'm like, oh, I'm in planning, I can't. So I'm not moving. It's text, okay, y'all go over this. I'll be right back. And sometimes
Awesome.
I've gone in, I don't know the question asked, and I'm kind of looking, but I planned the lesson, so I know the lesson. So I ask the question, get them back on board.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it was really a lot of real time. It wasn't
On the
planned like it
spot
was in the
coaching.
beginning, but it was a good thing. Like you said, we have to learn on how to do it. So it's a good thing that this was the third year that we had been implementing certain coaching cycles and things. So it was like
Right.
second nature to me now. So much so that I was invited to a district meeting to
Really?
share my progress and how I really took and internalized the coaching cycle and how I did it with my teachers.
Okay.
So it's good that I had that because
Mm-hmm.
I was able to on demand, real time, and they didn't feel the way. You know what I'm saying? Like they
Yes.
didn't feel like because
Yes.
like I told you, I walked behind, I said, it's not these kids' issue. And I just looked at them and let that sink in for a couple of minutes because I didn't have that much time.
Right.
And I
Right.
told her what I observed, what she saw me do. If you do that, bring them together with intent, with more intention, you'll
Mm-hmm.
get. They're not talking. Why they're not talking?
Mm-hmm.
They not. Why they not? They
Mm-hmm.
won't. Why? Who is the common denominator? You are, ma'am. So if I can come in here in the second semester and get them doing this, surely you can. So
Yes. Yeah. That's awesome. Oh man. Um, I you brought up something that I did not know about, and then I'd love to hear about the coaching cycle. The district had you come up there and talk about like your experience. Now, did you guys use the what is it, Gym Night methodology of coaching cycle?
Don't know what that is, so that would be a
Okay.
no. Never
Okay.
heard
Okay.
of it. It
Well,
was just
I would love to know, like, you say that they called you up there to talk about your experience through that journey. Like, what? Tell us
because
about
it was actually how I coached my teachers.
it.
Like it wasn't like a lot of instructional special like pushback, they don't want to hear me, whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
So we had like a walkthrough tool to where we would look at straightforward things. Like, is this
Okay.
happening or not? At what level is this happening or not? What would you rate this? What is the goal? You
Mm-hmm.
know? And so I found that instead of just talking to them about something in general,
Mm-hmm.
let's look at it.
Oh,
And so I had Google folders that were only shared with my specific teacher. This is
oh,
between you and I.
uh-huh.
Unless it needs to go to admin, this is between you and I.
Mm-hmm.
These are the conversations that we had because what I'm going to be able to say is what I did.
Right.
Can you say what you did? You know what I'm saying? I'm from engineering, CYA.
Yep. Yes.
I'm in real
Yes.
estate, CYA,
Yes.
documents, contracts.
All
So it's
day.
gonna be in black and white. I don't care if it's email per our conversation. Something is getting documented, right?
Exactly.
So what I would do is when I had time to go in, observe, I wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
say anything. Observe, score those things, put them in those regions, those areas.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't like really score. It was like you either saw it,
Oh, you did.
mostly, not yet. It was simple. It was
Mm-hmm.
real simple. And so we came in, I would show them to them. And then we would talk about it. Do you
Mm-hmm.
agree with this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is some of the things I observed. Even my notes that I took in class, it was teacher, it was student.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you see more of the print? Teacher
Mm-hmm.
side. So does that help you see why you're not there yet? Because it's you, it should be them.
Right.
So how do we transfer that it's more to the student being engaged and they're talking than you? Because
Mm-hmm.
remember, he who talks more learns and
On the
understands
learning.
more. So we need to switch that. And so I would show them that and it's like, okay, now we see the areas where it wasn't. So these are specific things, not just general. It was
Mm-hmm.
always general. They need to do, okay, well, how?
Yes.
How? Maybe I'm not connecting to the how. So let us come up with a plan. Now let us collaborate.
Mm-hmm.
So I plan to prepare. Okay, and it's a conversation. What is it that you want me to come and look at? What do you want to get better at?
Right.
If you don't have anything, then I have general observation. I observe. I come back. I put all those things together. I show you. We collaborate. Then I
Mm-hmm.
come back and I see that you're implementing what we talked about.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so it was no me just telling you what to do. You're a certified teacher. Who
Yes.
wants to be told what to do?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody.
No.
But if it's a partnership
Mm-hmm.
and I'm asking, do you agree or do you remember that this is how this happened? And I had my evidence.
Mm-hmm.
Teacher said, student said, teacher said, student said, teacher said, student said, and this is happening the day of or the next day. It is what it is, right? So
Yes.
this is what was said. And then we agree that these not yet is what it was. And then we collaborate. Okay, so how can we,
Get
what
to
can we do? Really, it's you because you're in the classroom, but what can we do?
mm,
Okay. Now, how much time you need? When can I come back in to see that? I'm not
mm,
expecting to see it tomorrow. You should be able to some of the things, but let's just be realistic.
mm-hmm.
Let you try. Okay. Is there a class you want me to come and see it in? That you're trying to, especially if it's something new, and then come and see, okay, now I'm gonna pop in at other times because we should be doing the same thing for all of our students.
Wow.
And so one teacher that I built that around that I really grew, the same one I was like, it's not you, it's not the keys, it's you.
Yeah.
Great progress.
Wow.
And so that's who I presented it around with the coaching cycles and stuff like that. And I'd had this teacher the whole 4 years I had been in that role. But it wasn't until I looked at and I internalized and I said, okay, I'm gonna show it to him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not just gonna talk about it. Well, I didn't see this and you need to do this. Different approach. Let's look at this together.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be accountable that this is what happened.
Right.
And this is why this is rated this way. Now let's work together on how can we change it. And then let's make a plan for you to hold me accountable again and come back in here and see that I did what I said that I was going to do because you didn't tell me to do it. We came up with this together.
Together.
So this your buy-in. And then when I come, it's either if I'm in and out, I saw it. If I'm lingering, you know what I'm saying? Like what's going on? And so yeah, I was invited. It was the district program directors. I think it was middle
Wow.
school and high school
Awesome.
program directors, one of their meetings. It was supposed to be other levels there, but I think another meeting came on, but it was district leadership,
Oh,
district
that's
leader.
awesome. Well, congratulations to that. Look at you. Look at you.
Yeah.
Always impressing. Always impressing. Um, and, the thing is that I will say, when we work together, I could see the greatness in you and all that you did with the students, and I am excited to see that you were able to transfer that over to helping out teachers to become the better versions of themselves. Because here's the thing: we all need coaching, no matter what we're doing. Is coaching can get us to reach those heights that we want to reach.
Mhm.
Now, with that being said, reaching heights that we want to reach, because I'm sure everybody in the profession would love to be somebody's favorite teacher, which leads us to the next section of the podcast, the part that I like to call your favorite teacher's favorite teacher. Now, in this, I just want you to talk to the audience about people who have inspired you. Now, I titled it Your Favorite Teacher's Favorite Teacher. It could be a teacher that you met when you were in education, a teacher that you met when you were in school, and even somebody outside of education that may have inspired you in your life, because we know teaching comes in all forms and sizes and shapes. So in this part, I'm turn the mic over to you and let you talk about somebody that helped to inspire you to become the great individual that you are today.
When I think about my approach
Mm-hmm.
and my end goal was to help students with what they needed and
Mm-hmm.
how they needed to be helped. The teacher that comes to mind was my engineering teacher in high school.
Okay.
So I went to Forestbrook High School in North Forest, neither which exists anymore. Um, and I went there because they had an engineering program. And so that's where I learned that I wanted to be an engineer and what major discipline. But his name was Mr. Austin Hayward.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, he was a little different. Like he handled us, he handled me. We were a little different. So imagine this as an adult. Just imagine a teenager. I'm smarter than that. But you can just imagine. But the reason why I say my approach is because like I said, I love math, right?
Right.
And so I think it was my 12th grade year. It was pre-calculus or calculus, I can't remember. But we didn't have the best teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And we asked questions not for the answer. That's back then when the odd answers were in the book.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
the
remember
odd
that.
answers in the book. Yeah. Well, this was an even question, ma'am. And I had a question. And she's like, well, the answer, I said, no, the answer is not in the back of the book. And even if it was, I'm asking you how. I'm not
Right.
asking you what's the answer. I walked out of her class with my book and
Oh
went to my
no.
engineering teacher. Mr. Hale, how I do this? Cause she not Furlow, did you yes, I did. You want me if you want me to go back to the class, you have to answer my question. Cause I love math and you're not gonna play with me, not with math. This is me, I think in 11th grade. I think it was 11th grade, could have been the 12th grade, but it was a senior year. And she's not gonna play. No, it was 11th grade year. So he showed me how I went back, went on the board, told the class, and we was good. Went on
Mm.
back I work because she didn't teach.
Wow.
So he took it upon himself. Senior year, we had him for 2 class periods.
Mm-hmm.
One class period was for engineering. The other class period, he taught us calculus
What? Wait,
so
what?
that we could be prepared for those entrance exams to see what math we would test into
Wow.
college.
Wow.
If he wouldn't have done that, we'd all been in college algebra. We wouldn't have been able to
Mm,
test into calculus. Like you have to test into calculus,
mm,
or you will be taking college algebra. So he took one of our engineering class periods, and we brought our calculus book to his class, and he taught us calculus.
wow.
Even though we had a whole class and a whole teacher designated for calculus. So the reason why I think of him is because that's exactly what I did. This is not my role, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go in this classroom
Mm,
and I'm going to teach these kids algebra.
wow.
And that was a decision he made. So that's why my senior project had nothing to do with engineering.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted me to come in and teach calculus to pre-calculus to the juniors
Wow.
so that they would have a better foundation. And he was going to keep it going with teaching them calculus, one of their class periods their senior year. So when I took my entrance exam, I tested into calculus, but I was tired. Freshman year, I didn't take no math. Sure didn't. I did not take math. I was over it. Okay. I needed a break. I was over it because in 12th grade, I had a calculus class.
Right.
I had another one in one of my engineering classes, and I went in and taught pre-calculus my senior year. So I'm sick of math at this point. So
Right.
I didn't take a math class freshman year at all.
Wow.
The summer after my freshman year, I missed a family trip to Phoenix, Arizona to knock out my math classes so that I can
Mm,
go back my sophomore year and be with everybody else. I needed the
mm,
break.
mm,
So
mm, mm, mm.
so yeah,
Look
he
at
would have to
that.
be the one because he did what was necessary. Like we were not going to express a need to him and he didn't meet it if he was capable. And he was a degreed engineer, so he was capable. So
Wow. I mean, and look at that. It's as an adult now in education, like you understand what he had to sacrifice in order to make that happen.
mhm,
Because in education we use the term preps. We have one or two preps for teaching, and when we talk about preps, we're actually talking about planning the lesson out. So this teacher went from just planning for engineering and took on a whole nother prep of planning for that class, that calculus class with you guys, which doubles his work. Look at man, wow. Wow.
he had a class full of go-getters, like we were on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really like what questions we had, what we didn't understand with clarity, and he would address those things. So probably thank God for him. He didn't have to deliver everything fresh and new. You know what I'm
Right,
saying? Like I
right,
had to
right.
for the algebra kids. So it was just like he had to tie some loose ends for us, like, explain a process of why this was done this way. We knew
Mm,
to do it that way. But if you don't understand the why, you
why?
can't transfer that when they ask you any other kind of question.
Mm-hmm.
So my kids probably hate it. Mom, what's it? Why? I'm gonna ask you a million questions. You ask me, I'm gonna ask you 10 because I'm going back to see where it is that
Mm-hmm.
what is it that you're not understanding, what's not transferring. Because once I do that, guess what? You're gonna leave me alone. Yeah, you're gonna be good. So so that's just and he used to why me to that. Well, what is it? I asked you why you won't just tell me. He say, well, if I just tell you, you're gonna come back and ask me again, a different way
Exactly.
for a different thing. And I
Exactly.
hated it, but I understand it
Mm-hmm.
because now I'm a teacher and that's who I told I would never teach. And these kids asking me just for the answer. And I'm like, I'm not giving you the answer because you're going to want all of them. How about I
Exactly.
help you get to the answer so that you can have that for the next one?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, and when people refer to the term critical thinking, this is what they're talking about. They
mhm,
um uh this uh Pop Tart uh generation wanting to know the answers up front. Just give me the answers. Like you're not creating critical thinkers when you do that. It's you taking the method that you take with asking the why
mhm,
repeatedly to get them to the root cause of where their deficiency is so that they
mhm,
can learn that skill in order to get to the answer that they're trying to get to. Like that's the most important thing. And that to me is like one of the biggest things in the education system that we have to focus on. making sure that these students understand the why behind what they're doing, not just give you the answer. You have to understand how you got to that answer in order to be successful, you know. And with that, we're talking about how your favorite teacher um, did something that a lot of people out in society would look at and just be like, "Oh, well, he's a teacher. He should have did that." And they don't understand like the sacrifice that he went through in
Mhm.
order to do that for you guys.
Mhm.
So that leads us into the next portion of the podcast, the part that I like to call "Tell them how you feel." And on this part, when you were in education, there's a lot of things that you did as an educator that parents, eh, I, I sometimes say civilians, don't understand that teachers do. And what I'd like you to do now is just talk about and tell them, and especially now that you're out of education, tell them about, how you feel about that connection between being an educator and what parents and people, laymen's that are not educators, um, think they know and understand about education, and just tell them about the reality of what it means to be an educator in today's society. So I'll turn that over to you to talk to the audience about that.
Being an educator for me, I was more than a teacher.
Mhm.
I was a mom, I was a mentor, I was a confidant, I was a friend, one that you respected. I was a counselor, a therapist. I was uh, sometimes a punching bag because they taking things out, you know what I'm saying? And it's just misplaced anger, frustration. I was an encourager, I was a caregiver, like all of those things. You're not just there to teach a lesson and that's it. Because until some of them come ready just to learn. But where we are, and sometimes if you're in underserved communities, that's not the majority, it's the minority. So the majority, you have to get them to that place. And until they trust you, that you are for them, you're not going to get anywhere. So some of my kids will say, "Oh, she up the first 3 weeks of school was, and okay, and don't care." But they had to, a lot of kids fought structure.
Mhm.
They fought structure, they fought routines. But I don't do homework. Well, you're gonna start. Welcome. You're in the A grade, and guess what you're gonna do? Well, I don't, well, guess what you're gonna start? And so every year, the 3 years I was in the classroom, somebody made an example out of themselves every year, and that's all it took. And that's all I was waiting on.
Mhm.
Accountability, I'm going to hold you to it. Consistency, I'm going to be. Teach you, I'm going to. Help you, guide you, I'm going to. And some of them will be coming in there fighting, kicking. I didn't care because my goal is for you to be successful. And I'm going to fight you tooth and nail and do whatever I have to do. So if I had to say, if you down on yourself, I had to step out in the hallway and encourage you. If you felt shame or I'm stupid, you ain't gonna never say that about yourself, not in my classroom. And sometimes I would mess up on purpose,
Mhm.
just so they can see everybody is not perfect.
Mhm.
So if somebody laugh at somebody, then we all gonna laugh because I'm gonna put a problem up there. I know they can't solve. We're gonna sit back and we're gonna really laugh. That won't happen again. So it's a lot that goes into it. We're not just responsible for teaching. All of those other hats I said. On top of that, grades, planning, lesson plans, printing out stuff, checking work. It's several times I took a stack this home on the weekend. I'm gonna grade this paper, and guess what? That same stack came right on back to school with me ungraded because I just didn't have just didn't have it.
Right.
Sometimes it was like, let me just think of the student, let me just think of the lesson. Okay, 80. Okay. So because when you get to know your students,
Exactly.
It's not all about what they put on it. What's behind that? What was their mindset? Like, if you're not having a good, tell me you're not having a good day.
Hmm.
Tell me so I can know how to still encourage you. Can't sit here and do nothing.
Right.
But it's a lot. It's a lot. And then post COVID,
Mhm.
the expectations put on teachers to do a lot of other stuff. I was so glad I stepped on over into the other realm and wasn't teaching after COVID. Oh my God. And so that just made me go harder for my teachers post COVID because so much education took a huge turn
Mhm.
of demand for teachers post COVID.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
have some grace, help the teachers out. Ask your kids when they go home, what did you do? Just have a conversation. If they can't tell you what they did, they didn't learn nothing. Even if they can say, oh, we looked at equations, they paid attention to something. But if they can't tell you anything, like ask them, you got work, you got this, like help the teachers out. Like teachers are tired, they're burnt out, uh, they're not supported. It's not the kids why teachers are leaving. It's not. Mom, dad, grandma, uncle, big sister, big brother, whoever is on the other end listening to this, it's not your students, it's not your kids that are making us exit. I won't say what it is, but I'll say what it's not. It's not your kids. So if a teacher reaches out to you, they care about their kid. Even if it's a bad behavior thing, because they see something, they want your help, they want your assistance. If they take the time to reach out to you, consider that a privilege because they don't have the time. Because
Mm-mm.
trust me, it's a whole like probably 50% of their roster they need to reach out to. But if they take that time to reach out to you, something has really gotten out of hand because they don't have the time to do it. So I mean, it's more than just they're not just failing your child. You know what I'm saying? It's a whole lot. Like I named about 10 to 15 things
Hmm.
other than the word teacher. And it's truly what being an educator looks like.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. It's so true. Um, I thank you for saying that, because a lot of times I have heard some people saying that people are exiting education because of the students, when in actuality it's the system as a whole that is not supported the teachers the way that they need that support. So, um, well, I mean, that was a lot. You did a fantastic job with that. So we're at this point now. What we're gonna do is we're gonna come to a close, and at this point, what I like to do is I like to turn it over to my guests to one tell the audience where, excuse me, where they can find you. And because now that you're out of education, you are
Mhm.
doing something more. You are now in real estate, right?
Yes. Yes.
And I'd like to give you an opportunity to let the audience know if they're trying to buy or sell houses in your area, like how they can get in contact with you, what they need to do as well. And then I'll just, let you have the last word before we close out the podcast. So I'm going to turn the mic over to you. You got the floor. Talk to them about how they can reach you, and talk to them about your business.
Okay, so yes, I am back in real estate full time. I was a dual agent, kind of on and off dealing with education, but now I'm full time, fully focused on serving and educating clients, whether it be to buy, to sell, to lease, get you ready to buy, invest, anything real estate, all things real estate. I'm here. I'm in the greater Houston area, so I'm from here. I've lived in some of the outskirting cities, Pearland, Humble. I'm now in Spring, so that's my niche market area. But I'm gonna go where you want to go. If it's
Mhm.
on the hard.com and I can see it and we can access it, that's what we're gonna do. Um, my my website is Adrienne Furlow. www.exprealty.com, and I'll give it to you so you can
Yes,
like do your
I'll
little
put it
blurbs or
across.
whatever.
Yeah.
That's my website. You can search for me on hard.com. You can see some of the ratings of my previous clients have had to say about working with me. I'm on Facebook, Adrienne Furlow Realtor. I'm on Instagram, Furlow the Realtor, all of which I will give to him. My business number is 346-413-1403. And my email is furlowtherealtor@gmail.com, all of which I'll provide to the awesome Mr. Stubblefield.
Oh,
I'm so appreciative and grateful to have had this opportunity to share. And yeah, so you can catch me on IG or Facebook. When I do home tours, I try to go live so if you can see some of the awesomeness in some of these little areas. I walk into homes and don't think it's gonna look like they were like, oh, is it time for me to move? So you can catch me doing some of that, just dropping some little tips and things like getting ready to buy, getting ready to sell. And we can always have a conversation about your future needs. You don't have to be ready right now, but allow me to help you get ready, whatever that looks like for you.
yes. She is amazing. She's helped me through some stuff, and wow. She is very professional and very great at what she does.
And
So
funny, we're gonna have fun.
yes, yes, so true. So true. Not gonna talk about some houses that we went to that did not look even. So oh, so with that being said, thank you again for joining the podcast, for doing this podcast today. Once again, you are an amazing individual. Want to give you your flowers on this podcast for everything that you've done for the community, for students, and for anybody that just asks for your help, because you are just that type of person. So with that, we are signing off. Have a good one, and peace.
Peace. Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to this episode of Your Favorite Teacher's Favorite Teacher podcast. If you have a story you'd like to share, please contact me at wdstubblefield@wdsi.us. Again, that is wdstubblefield@wdsi.us. And you could be our next inspirational story of how educators impact our lives. I'm your host, Mr. Stubblefield, and I want you to remember, no profession is possible without your favorite teacher.